On the menu tonight, thousands of people are affected by flooding across Africa. According to the United Nations, flooding has affected more than 600,000 people in South Sudan. This is due to heavy rains that have caused rivers to overflow, damaging infrastructure and essential water supply. In the east, floodists have reported that lake flooding has also affected parts of Kenya. Welcome, I'm Ropua Madzena, and this is #Africa. Record flooding in Sudan is damaging infrastructure and essential water supply is at risk of being contaminated. The United Nations says that this natural disaster is preventing people from adhering to measures that protect against COVID-19.
Record floods in Sudan have devastated infrastructure, the United Nations has warned, cutting off humanitarian access and preventing people from taking measures to protect against COVID-19. Dozens have died and thousands of homes have been destroyed after heavy rains triggered severe flooding and a rise of the River Nile by up to nearly 17.5 meters, the highest level in 100 years, according to Sudanese authorities. Around 125,000 of those affected are refugees and internally displaced people, SHABIA MANTOO of the UN's refugee agency said on Tuesday.
Roads have become too muddy for traffic to pass, making it extremely difficult or impossible to deliver humanitarian aid to some communities.
According to the UN, around 2,000 water sources, vital amid the coronavirus pandemic, have been contaminated or are non-functional.
Hygiene and sanitary levels have plummeted due to flooded latrines and contaminated water supplies, preventing people from exercising necessary COVID prevention measures, such as regular hand washing.
The UN said 37,000 homes have been destroyed and another 39,000 damaged, and that the government has declared a state of emergency in Khartoum, where more than 21,000 people have been affected.
Nigeria plans to expand its mining sector with 50 mines operational by 2023 as it diversifies away from oil, which has suffered massive in price drops.
Nigeria hopes to dig itself out of an economic hole with plans to have 50 mines operational by 2023.
People are beginning to come to us. They're interested in coming down to Nigeria. And
Mining Minister OLAMILEKAN says if it wasn't for lockdown restrictions, new players would already be entering the market as the country tries to grow the mining sector tenfold over the next 5 years and diversify away from oil, where prices have collapsed. In particular, ADEGBITE said Nigeria aims to process barite used in drilling for oil and gas for exports to countries such as Ghana and South Africa, which need the mineral to exploit new oil discoveries.
Because right now, Morocco supplies the continent. I think we're closer to Ghana and we're also closer to South Africa in terms of geography. So I think we'll be able to compete with Morocco to supply those two countries.
Africa's biggest economy was hit hard when crude oil, on which its economy overwhelmingly depends, plunged to 2-decade lows this year. Gold, on the other hand, hit record highs in August. By formalizing the artisanal mining sector, authorities hope to generate tax and royalties. But there is a problem. Most of Nigeria's gold is in the northwest, where humanitarian organizations say it has helped fuel violence attributed to armed groups. ADEGBITE said small-scale miners are being encouraged to form cooperatives and sell at government-run buying centers rather than deal with criminals.
These are foreigners who come into Nigeria and hide behind the artisanal miners. Our artisanal miners are recognized for who they are. They are people who are into their subsistence living. So we're not criminalizing them. Rather, we're trying to organize them into groups, into cooperatives, so that we can avail them with all the incentives.
ADEGBITE also expects more commercial gold miners to be attracted to Nigeria once Thor Exploration's mine in the southwest starts producing. Its first gold is expected in the second quarter of 2021.
Tourism plays an important role in South Africa's economy. The country is one of the world's iconic travel destinations, but now the sector is expected to lose 75% of that projected revenue.
The V&A waterfront in Cape Town is normally filled with tourists from around the world. But since governments closed borders and lockdown remains in place, only local customers are coming in small numbers. South Africa is one of the world's iconic long-haul travel destinations, making tourism a pillar of the economy. Last year, it welcomed over 10 million international visitors. The industry was projecting total tourist spending to reach over $16 million in 2020. Now the sector is expected to lose 75% of that projected revenue. This is Lisa Goosen, CEO of Tinswalo, which operates high-end hotels across the country.
The closing of our borders has impacted us because 70% of our tourists are international, especially in the Safari Lodge properties. So at this point, those properties are not being booked at all.
With South Africans now permitted to travel between provinces for the first time since March, tourist-focused businesses are pivoting to domestic travellers. Tinswalo, for example, has slashed prices by half for staycation deals at its 5-star hotels in a bid for the business to stay afloat.
Still to come, there's a new restaurant in West Africa that specially caters airline food for those who miss flying. A new restaurant in Nigeria's capital is offering a taste of the airwaves for its customers, an airline dining experience without taking off.
This is your captain speaking.
Airline food isn't always famed for its quality, but that hasn't stopped Fatima Garuba and her friends from visiting this new Nigerian restaurant, which seeks to recreate the in-flight dining experience for those grounded by lockdown.
It's been a while since we all got to see inside of an airplane, and this just reminds us of that.
Urban Air Restaurant opened over 2 weeks ago in the capital, Abuja, complete with staff emerging from a cockpit and seating divided into first, business and economy class. Restaurant owner Ogoyang spent more than 10 million naira or over $26,000 converting the space.
You get a brand new experience. From time to time, we even announce on the PA system, just as the captains do. So I basically operate here as a captain of the aircraft.
Nigeria has suspended all international commercial flights since late March and also curtailed domestic flights for several months, though they have since resumed. But while international flights are set to resume on September 5, returning to Nigeria will involve getting tested, a pricey addition to the airfare.
Like, some people really want to be there, so they can actually come here and be like, oh, you guys, I'm on the private jet and all, and people actually believe because everything says it.
For nostalgic travelers like Divine Akofo, it's a chance to pretend until they can once again take to the skies.
Still in Nigeria, a trailer of a new movie about 2 women falling in love has been watched by thousands on YouTube. However, Nigeria's National Film and Video Censors Board might not approve Life's release due to criminalize same-sex relationships.
She wanted to know what that meant.
2 women lie in bed talking about having children.
At the end of each day, she'd tell me how much she loved me.
In Nigeria, having a same-sex relationship could theoretically land them in jail for 14 years.
How much bravery did you need when you came out to your mother?
But this is not real life. This is the trailer for Nigerian feature film Ife, meaning love in the Yoruba language.
I feel like for a very long time we've been told one-sided stories.
The film was directed by Uyaidu Ikpe Etim.
So what I wanted to do was to tell the full story by representing LGBT people in Nigeria.
She protected me.
The trailer has been watched thousands of times since it was uploaded to YouTube in July. But in deeply religious Nigeria, same-sex relationships are criminalized and millions reject homosexuality as a corrupting Western import. Against this backdrop, it's thought that the government's film board might not approve Ife for release. Producer Pamela Adie, a prominent LGBT+ activist in Nigeria, says she plans to beat the censors by releasing the movie on an online on-demand platform this year.
I really feel that, yes, the Censors Board is really playing a big part in stopping these kinds of stories from coming to the big screen, coming to the fore, and it's just really stifling creativity.
Nigeria's multi-billion-dollar film industry is a major cultural export, but its LGBT+ characters are usually portrayed as mentally ill or possessed. Uzamaka Aniuno, who plays the role of Ife, agrees that the movie may not be the norm.
But I don't feel that it's bold. I feel that it's ordinary. I feel that it's my day-to-day life just being shown on screen. But it's
Nigeria's National Film and Video Censors Board did not respond to requests for comment.
We're lesbians. This is the perfect time.
Two lakes in Kenya are rising with possibilities of merging due to heavy rainfalls. Locals classify this as an ecological disaster.
The fresh waters of Kenya's Lake Baringo teem with birds, fish, hippos and crocodiles and sustain tens of thousands of people. But none of them can survive in the alkaline Lake Bogoria nearby. Now heavy rainfall and ecological destruction means the two lakes are rising and may merge. The flooding's driving farmers from their land and residents from their homes. Local camp manager James Ouwa.
All my life started from here. It is quite disgusting to see a place you call home for most of your time going. When it started, we thought it would come. But as usual, it's difficult to move to a new place because this is a wonderful and amazing place to be.
Locals say it will be an ecological disaster if the two lakes meet. Baringo, which irrigates land and provides drinking water, has expanded 60% to 105 square miles in the last 7 years, according to the government-run Kenya Wildlife Service. Lake Bogoria has swollen by a quarter to 16 square miles. The flooding's driving farmers from their land and residents from their homes. Some farmers say their grazing has been destroyed. Conservationists said the rising waters are due to a combination of unusually heavy rains and the silting up of the lakes.
After the break, a Nigerian visual artist is using pasta to create beautiful landmarks. This is #Africa. Let's take a quick look at news-making headlines across the African continent.
I was actually touched by that because they compared two different things that are not the same. So it clearly means that racism won't end. It won't.
They are not hiding. Bona ukuthi they are racist towards inwele zabantu abamnyama. For ukuthi like bas define as bad hair, then white people hair by define as good hair, as if like zonke inwele azikho good.
What do you get when you combine spaghetti and creativity? Well, Nigerian visual artist Andere Tomiwa Oyatomi is creating some of the world's most iconic landmarks out of pasta.
A Nigerian sculptor has found an unusual way to pass the time under lockdown. Building replicas of famous bridges and monuments across the world out of spaghetti. Adere Tomiwa Oyatomi began experimenting with the food during the first month of the country's lockdown, and he hopes his art will remind people of the exciting places they are to visit once the restrictions on movement have been eased.
So I just want to show the world that these places are great architectural pieces because it's beautiful and they are made with, great techniques, because they are kind of very different from every other thing that we know.
Oyatomi's first pasta-inspired creation was Paris' Eiffel Tower, and his collection, created with more than 25,000 strands of spaghetti, also include Nigeria's Lekki Ikoyi Bridge and the pyramids of Egypt. But the sculptures don't always get a positive reaction.
People thinking my kind of art is waste is maybe they don't really have the knowledge of what I'm trying to show to people. What I'm just trying to show to people is just an expression that even if you are fragile, you can still stand when you are being close together. When you can hold yourself together, then you can still stand.
Oyatomi spends 2 to 3 days creating each spaghetti monument, but it's not the only way he's working from home. The painting graduate also teaches children less edible forms of art via virtual classes.
A flamboyance of flamingos was spotted in the waters of Kenya's Lake Nakuru after 8 years of disappearance. Kenyans are hopeful that this return can mean good news for the tourism industry.
A flamboyance of flamingos forages in the waters of Kenya's Lake Nakuru. In an area that's heavily reliant on tourism, it's a welcome sight, and it hasn't always been this way. Rewind 5 years, and Deputy Park Warden Maureen Musimbi was worried.
Right now, because of the level of water and more fresh water coming in, the number of flamingos has gone down.
High water levels shrink the flamingos' ideal breeding and feeding grounds. When Nakuru first started rising in 2012, rangers say the birds left for nearby Rift Valley lakes, such as Bogoria and Baringo, whose waters were shallower. But fast forward, and today, heavy rains have flooded those lakes, prompting the return of the flamingos and visitors, according to the tourism warden, AIRLINE MWEBIA.
With the increase now of the number of flamingos, we have started seeing visitors also increasing. Most of the visitors are now coming back.
MWEBIA declined to give visitor numbers, and the Kenya Wildlife Service did not return calls. But lockdown restrictions have hammered the tourism sector in recent months. But with the return of the flamingos, the future for Lake Nakuru looks a little more rosy.
And that's it from me, Ropiwa Madzena. Keep the conversation going on Twitter at Africa_ENCA. We leave you with beautiful pictures from our continent. Until next time, bye-bye.